Welcome to Cats and Rats Podcast, covering your Florida Panthers.
Hey everyone, welcome to the newest episode of the Cats and Rats Podcast, episode number 62. I'm your host, Kirby Lupo, joined alongside, as always, my co-host, Nick Levine. Cody Stevens is away yet again here today. I do want to give a shout out to number 62 episode, though, to Brandon Monter, Money Monter. Just lost his brother recently here to ALS. Just came back into the Seattle Kraken lineup, had a big game last night as of this recording. I know some of his family and friends have listened to our content over the years, so I just want to give a shout out to Brandon Monter and his family there, Nick. But we do have a special guest here today from the Hockey News and co-host of the Hockey Show podcast, David Dwork. Nice to have you back, David. How's it going?
Boys, it's going good. Good to see you. Appreciate having me on.
Yeah, nice to see you, David. This was not planned, Nick.
No, it was not.
I told of David before he sent that tweet out. I know many of you saw that tweet. Again, Nick.
What tweet? What there was a tweet?
Where do you want to start with that?
Well, first of all, David, we really appreciate you coming on. Kind of talking. I guess we'll talk a little bit about the tweet, particularly when it comes to defense. We haven't touched a ton about the Dmitry Kulikov injury. What is your sense on how the blue line has been playing thus far? Obviously, comparing now before and after Kulikov, a large enough sample size. How underrated he is. How do you think it's kind of meshed together, particularly that bottom pair?
It's been a work in progress, I think, to say the least. I think it's nothing that we haven't really seen similarly in recent years. Like last year, Nate Schmidt got off to a bit of a rough start. It took him a little while to kind of get his feet under him. And once he got going, he became just one of the guys. A lot of fans loved him. If you go back a couple of years ago, even when OEL first got here, he was struggling a little bit. Obviously, they were asking a bit more of him offensively, but it just takes a little while to get acclimated to this team, and particularly the defensive system. So I've kind of had it ingrained in me to show a little bit of patience early in the season. This year has been a little bit different, obviously, with the injuries that they had coming in. And then what happened with Dmitry Kulikov, him having surgery, him going out. Everything just got super, super thin on a team that's really one of their biggest flexes has been their depth over the last couple of years. So just, to answer your question, obviously I'm poking around here trying to see what's going on. And I have heard that there's been some talk. There's always chatter. GMs are always checking in on everybody else and seeing what's going on. But, I heard from a very, very good source that they're kicking the tires on defensive depth. Don't want to burn my source and throw out any specific names, but I will say familiar name did pop up. I'm not saying it's a huge name or anything like that, but it would make sense for the Panthers to bring in, if they were going to do that, somebody that had some familiarity with exactly what they'd be walking into. But either way, we're still 11 games in now, 10 or 11 games in. And it's been very, I don't want to say tumultuous, but it's been very up and down. So it wouldn't surprise me, knowing Bill Zito and knowing how he kind of has his finger in everything around the league, to see Florida maybe make a depth move here. But I wouldn't expect anything monumental based off of what I've heard.
Yeah, Nick, I think, again, depth move guys, the names that I've heard, Mario Ferraro, Jamie Alexiak. There's some other names out there. I've heard Matt Grzelcyk from some of my people.
I've heard Carson Soucy's another name that's been out there. So, and that's actually a really good point you bring up. Nate Schmidt wasn't even in the opening night lineup last year. It was Adam Boakfist. And I remember that training camp with Nate Schmidt. It took some time for him to get acclimated. It wasn't until around that New Year portion where he was finally able to get comfortable. And then in the playoffs, he kind of took off. Kirby, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, yeah, I think it's kind of the names that we have to focus on here, David, with the depth pieces. We can get into a little bit later here about, our forwards needing to produce, but I think a lot of that has to happen internally. And some of those forward names out there on the market right now, you have to wait on those teams for availability, and that might not even be a fit with the Panthers and Nazem Kadri's, Evgeny Malkin's, Pittsburgh off to a great start. So again, David, I think it's those depth pieces, and how much confidence does this organization have in this bottom pairing right now with Dmitry Kulikov alive? Sabrango, another guy coming in to this team. I think he's probably going to play on the weekend from Ottawa. He has some visa issues there.
Yeah, I think right now they're testing out what they have. When it's just so hard when you kind of have one idea, right? Especially with the deep pairings, they haven't moved at all aside from, the injured guys in and out. So the continuity is so important with Paul Maurice. So any new player they bring in, whether it's, somebody that they just got off waivers or even bringing Uvis back in, there's a little bit of an adjustment period. Obviously with Balinskis, he's been around for several years. He knows exactly what this coaching staff wants of him. I just think the bar has been raised over the last couple of years in terms of the expectations, even from that third defensive pairing. So what we're seeing now, I am not anticipating seeing the same once the playoffs roll around. But they have to get from point A to point B, right? They need to get to the playoffs, which I think a lot of us, including, people within the team, we're just thinking it's kind of a foregone conclusion that, yes, they have a lot of issues with injuries and whatnot. They should still be able to get into the playoffs. And once there and once healthy, then all bets are off, as we've seen. But right now, it's the training wheels are on, for lack of a better term. Like they need to get that acclimation down with the new guys, whoever they might be, whether they do make a trade, whether it's waiver wire guy, whether it's guy that's been around for a while. They've just got to get that continuity back, because we've seen the last couple of postseasons just how everything moves and like everything's very fluid. Everything moves in unison with one another just because the 5-man defensive systems are so important. So right now I've got my notepad out at a lot of games, and I'm just kind of taking notes on these guys, seeing what they do well, what they don't do well. And I'm sure that the Panthers are doing a much bigger job of that. And that's why we're kind of seeing things play out the way that they are right now.
And Nick, you mentioned Nate Schmidt. Nick, how about let's take it to we haven't mentioned this name yet, Jeff Petry route here. Let's mention what we've talked about, Nick, a little bit, and then see what David has to kind of.
Yeah, I think, veteran, older guy, not the best skater. I mean, obviously a little bit slower. That comes with age, obviously. That's the main guy that's going to get picked on. It was the case with Mark Stahl when he was here a number of years ago. But I don't think the reason we're losing is because of Jeff Petry. I thought, again, in the preseason training camp and even the first couple games with Kulikov, I was well pleased with him. I thought really just kind of a nice distributor of the puck, can move pretty well, and Kulikov would kind of clean up any defensive mishaps or, and some other stuff. I think the loss of Kulikov is amplified by, number one, Jeff Petry is new, right? He's a veteran guy. He's the 6th. So that really is a big loss, and he has to kind of adjust. But I also think you can afford to lose Kulikov, maybe not long term, and especially not with Alexander Barkov out. So I think there are a couple of different circumstances here that amplify the loss, from new player, new system, losing your number one center, a Selke level player. I don't think he's been as bad as everybody says, though. I mean, we're not losing because of Jeff Petry on the third pair. We're not. I think I'm looking at it here. We're averaging less than 2.5 goals per game. I think that's a far bigger issue. And I think, again, and if you were going to take Paul Maurice's post-game comments yesterday, it was all right offensively, but there's still a lot left to be desired. And I think when you take a look at just how the goaltending of the defense played overall, buying into the system structurally, I think it can help with the new defenseman, but it really needs to be a better effort overall, which we'll get into later.
Yeah, I mean, look at last year, right? Like Seth Jones, maybe one of the top D-men. Obviously there's great defensemen out there, but in terms of an addition that you could make, hard to do better than bringing in a Seth Jones. It took him a while before he started looking like Seth Jones that we kind of would grow to expect. And he's, on that cut, I was about to say he's an elite player. Like he certainly can be. We know he has that kind of skill, but for somebody with that much regard behind him, it took him a little while. So to think that, even though Jeff Petry, and I know that they liked having a veteran guy, a coachable guy, somebody who's had plenty of success. He had some really good years in Montreal during his career. But as you mentioned, Nick, he's maybe not the fastest guy right now, and he's learning. I think that bottom pairing has been exposed a few times over the last couple of weeks, just in terms of situationally, they've been put in some tough spots. I have seen, and not to pick on Jeff Petry, like he's made a couple of, passes that weren't great coming out of the zone, but that's just a part of learning the systems, understanding what your forwards routes are, where they're supposed to be. Because the whole idea of the defense, well, everybody, but when you're coming out of your zone, when you're exiting, whatever, like fast, you got to know where to go with the puck, who's going to be here, where you need to go right after that. There's a lot to keep track of. And when that's not muscle memory, it's going to be difficult, which is why you've seen Florida bring in, when they brought in defensemen over the last few years, veteran guys, smart guys, coachable guys. That's one trait that everybody's had. So I'm not jumping ship on Jeff Petry yet. I don't think I just think it's a bit too early for that. But I agree that picking on a veteran defenseman, he's done fine. Like he hasn't blown the doors off.
The expectations aren't huge. It's league minimum.
Yeah, I think I don't think the expectations fans are having may not match what the expectations the team had. But right now, with so much of the season left to go, I just think it's a little silly. And to your point, Nick, this is a team that's averaging like 2.3 or whatever goals per game. They've got much bigger issues than keeping the puck out of their net right now.
Yeah. And David mentioned, funny enough there, Nick, Seth Jones' name. And Nick, jump in after this, but I want to kind of go off of what David was saying there. The players are learning the routes of guys coming, on the breakout and coming back on plays. How much right now, David, is the pressure on the forward group of what they're having to do in the defensive zone without Alexander Barkov, but names like, and we've talked about them a lot, Sam Bennett, Carter Verhaeghe, just not producing enough to start the season?
Yeah, I don't know if it's like a pressure thing. I just think all those guys understand that like there's more work to be done when you remove a Sasha Barkov from the equation, and Barkey plays all situations. Like we've seen how the power play doesn't quite look the same. Like seeing Eetu Luosterainen playing a net front is a little odd. We've seen the penalty kill. That's one thing. Maurice has got his PK forwards. He's got good ones. I mean, what we've seen from like Brad Marchand, who would have thought that he would have come in and been this elite penalty killer? He's been amazing. But they've split up like Lundell and Lusty, which has worked out just fine. They're trying to limit Rhino's minutes because of what we're just talking about. He's being asked to do so much more.
Erod at center.
Yeah, Evan Rodriguez playing center, which and again, these guys all take faceoffs, but it's when they're playing that position, and that's where things get a little weird, right? And you take all that into account. You talked about the forwards playing in the defensive zone, did their exits and their routes in that department. Yeah, maybe I just go back to game one when we were talking, or maybe it was game two. One of the first couple of games, we were talking to Brad Marchand about how well that first line was doing, that makeshift first line. It was what him, Verhaeghe, and who was it? Was it Bennett centering that line?
It kind of was. Yeah.
And Marchand talking about how they practiced together like twice, but it was all happening on the ice. So that was like, okay, cool. That's a good element. But then on the other side of that coin, we're seeing kind of the downside of it, where there's a lot of learning that's still to be done, a lot of unfamiliarity on a team where there's been a ton of it over the last few years. The continuity has been there. Right now, they're kind of learning on the fly, and knowing the kind of guy that Paul Maurice is, like, while he obviously wants the team to win first and foremost, he looks at this like opportunities. He's seen so many different players in so many different positions, and that all comes to the benefit when it comes to the playoff time, because then he knows all these different things that might happen where guys work. So until we get to like past Christmas, past New Year's, if the struggles are happening there, if Florida's on the outside looking into a playoff spot at that point, and we're still having these conversations, then that's going to be an issue, because that means the last 2.5 months, what were they doing? How were they improving? What were they learning? Right now, game 11, we're still in the month of October. I still have faith, and they've earned my faith, I think, to this point. And when I say they, like Paul Maurice, his staff, Bill Zito, his guys, like I have trust that they're going to do what's right for this team. And if right now they feel that they need to let this team kind of play its way out of this, let them do their thing.
And Nick, there's been good signs with Mackie Samoskevich, Brad Marchand that David just alluded to. So there has been good signs, and especially up front, Nick, you do have the depth there. It's, again, like we talked about from the back end perspective, what are options?
Well, actually, I have some, and obviously numbers can be deceiving, but taking a look at the defensive numbers here, we're tied for 9th in goals allowed, 2.73. The goaltending from the eye tests, and I think we can all concur here, is nothing short of spectacular. I mean, I think Tarasov's deserve better fate. Bobrovsky's definitely deserve better fate. And when you take a look at what they've been facing, we're number one in the NHL in shots on goal allowed per game. We're the best shot suppression team in the NHL. And
missing our best defense in Barkov for 1A, 1B.
Right? 23.6 shots on goal allowed. So when you take a look, we talked about all these different problems on defense, structurally speaking, on the road trip. I know we were talking a little bit about the turnovers and
road. It got a little
past, but the fact of the matter is you're getting high quality goaltending. You're not allowing very many goals, and you're not allowing a lot of high danger chances or shots on goal. I mean, for all the talk that we have, I mean, it's been pretty good. And I do think that it can only get better with a better Jeff Petry. And I think how that's done, obviously, as we mentioned here, is through the trade market. Balinskis did an admirable job last year in the long term, played about 75, 80 games. But, circumstances were different there. And there were some bad nights in that first half without Jones was kind of iffy. But to your point, David, about particularly the scoring, the depth, Kirby, only works if we're all playing well. And the margin for error is so much smaller now. And that's when the frustration starts to set in. Guys for like Carter Verhaeghe and Sam Bennett. We've been talking about that a lot, and I know it's early, but 11 games in, $15 million on the ice, the expectations are risen. They got 3 goals. And, Sam Bennett, Kirby, we'll talk about later. He's not driving play. He's not playing like Sam Bennett. There just seems to be a little bit more of a hesitation there. And obviously, when you're missing Sasha Barkov, Sam Bennett gets put in a much more difficult position. So kind of wondering your thoughts on that Bennett and Verhaeghe element to this.
Yeah, what surprises me when you talk about like Bennett, Verhaeghe, and even Sam Reinhart is the lack. It's not just the lack of scoring; it's the lack of assists. I think between the 3 of them, they have 5 assists, which on this team is like, what's going on?
Right.
I will say, and the depth is such an important thing, just because of the trickle down when you get down to like the 4th line, how amazing that 3rd line was last year and into the postseason. Like, I know that they're viewing this as we already know that there's 2 trade additions coming mid-season that are going to seriously help the forward depth. And that's when Tomas Nosek and Matthew Tkachuk come back into the lineup, because right there, the oomph that gives your forward depth, suddenly your second line is solidified again with Chucky right next to Benny and whoever they put on that left wing. Thomas Nosek, he can take so much pressure off of this 4th line right now. That's really, you could argue, has been their most consistent line. Maybe not when it comes to talking about scoring, but just overall play, what you can expect from them shift in and shift out. Nick Cunning's done a great job as a new player, surrounded by the vets in Greer and Gadovich, who I think I just absolutely can't say enough about how that guy has carved out a really good role for himself over the last couple of years, from when he first showed up and we didn't even know who he was, on the ice rehabbing with Ekblad after the surgery, after the Vegas final. Like, hey, there's another guy out there. Yeah, it turns out Jonah Gadovich, fun guy. So I think that I just keep getting back to where, like, right now they have to survive. These guys need to learn. The guys that you mentioned, Reinhart, Bennett, Verhaeghe, like, obviously they need they need to see more from them. Like, yeah, Reinhart's got the 5 goals, but just the 1 assist, right? And then Verhaeghe and Bennett, they have 3 between them, right, fellas? Like, Bennett's got 1 goal, Verhaeghe, I think it's 2. These are not only your top 6 guys; these are like your main top 6 guys right now. So it's understandable that you'd want to see a bit more production out of them. Now the chances, I think, for the most part, have been there. Like, I felt like Reinhart hit like 3 posts last night.
Reinhart had 9 shots and I think 12 attempted. Like, I put Reinhart in a different stratosphere than Verhaeghe and Bennett, because if you go back to last year, David, Verhaeghe and Bennett both struggled during the regular season, and Verhaeghe didn't find his game in form until the playoffs. So those guys went through a lot of hot and cold spells. Reinhart, we do need more from him, but he's doing things unbelievable on the penalty kill. He's driving play at times. He's not been lucky. He's hit a lot of posts. I'm not seeing the same from Verhaeghe and Bennett. That's my perspective. And then you look at a guy like Anton Lundell.
I think we're seeing the same Reinhart. I think
Reinhart can't play with Bennett and Verhaeghe because they all want to shoot the puck now.
Yeah, and I think the same Reinhart we've seen this year again, especially particularly over the last week, has kind of looked more at the Reinhart of last year. He has that jump. Verhaeghe, in that game against Vegas, playing with Reinhart and Evan Rodriguez, who we haven't even talked about, has done a phenomenal job. From a potential automatic trade ship to the Barkov injury, now all of a sudden
they're asking him to do a lot.
I think
like,
he's
first
done a very
center right now.
admirable job. But before we talk about that, I just wanted to touch on David's point real quick, and then you guys could talk about his. AJ Greer has 5 points in 11 games. Gadovich 3 points in 10 games. Cunnin has a point. Schwint has a point. The depth scoring you're getting from your 4th line right now is incredible. They're an energy line. They're a heavy forechecking line. They rarely, if ever, get pinned in their own zone, and they're providing the occasional depth scoring. AJ Greer in that Vegas
they've been our
game,
best forechecking line, you could say, too.
AJ Greer in that Vegas game, David, you saw he's high stepping through the neutral zone, feeding it back to Marchand, and then he does an that's hard to do, like that wraparound attempt. That is not
pull off the face-off there with the tie-up with Gadjevich, I think there.
So, and Gadjevich essentially created the Schwinn goal in that game. So the third period, the fourth line taken over, but I just wanted to mention that, and David, go ahead talking about a little bit about that top 6, top 9.
Yeah, and well, first, I obviously agree with what you were saying about the fourth line guys. They've been spectacular, and we're just talking about that. But just kind of the thought that was occurring to me as you guys were talking about Bennett and Verhaeghe, obviously they both picked up their game in the playoffs, and at the end of the day, that's what you want. But Verhaeghe's shot percentage went like basically cut in half last season. I think it went from like around 15 to 8. Bennett's is
league worst, around 2.5%, 3.5% at one point.
Yeah, and with Bennett this year, you just don't really notice him that much during the game, as opposed to like his normal play where he's just kind of whether it's causing havoc or whether it's creating shots with opportunities with his speed, odd man rushes, whatever. The timing sucks too, because both guys fresh off contract years. Verhaeghe, he struggled last year. Now Bennett, now he's struggling this year. Now you tie in, obviously you've got a built-in excuse for that. That's a valid one, and that you're missing 2 of your key forwards, 2 guys that are both of their line mates a lot of the time. But still, that's why, these are the top guys. That's why you pay them what you pay them, because their success shouldn't necessarily be predicated on everybody needing to be around them. You'd like to see them be able to do it on their own. Are they feeling the added pressure and stress of knowing that, like, hey, need to be more the guy right now? Very possible. They're human just like us. But either way, that's not necessarily an acceptable excuse. With Sam Bennett, just when you pluck him out of the lineup, him and Barkov for me are like the two cogs that, like, if you remove one, things just kind of start to not fall apart, but look very different. His Florida centers are so important, and those 2 guys particularly. And Anton Lundell he's moving into that realm too, just because of how good he is moving zone to zone. But with Barkov and now with Bennett, maybe Bennett is focusing so much more on making sure that he's becoming a shutdown center, which he's done a good job of, that the focus, and this is just me spitballing here, but like the focus maybe isn't on the offensive game as much as it should be. Either way, like, he's going to figure it out. I'm sure he's working on that just because he's such a thoughtful guy. He's in his own head. But yeah, those guys, particularly Kirby and Nick, like the way that the roster is constructed right now, like, it doesn't make there's no surprise at all that the team's struggling the way that they are, to see those guys struggling.
Yeah. I thought it would have been more of I've always been very high. Kirby has as well been on Anton Lundell. And I think the progression from when Paul Maurice first came into that playoff run against Vegas, and even in that Stanley Cup final against Vegas, was unbelievable. Then the year we won the cup, just continued progressing, set career highs last year. It's going to shatter that more than likely this year. It's kind of like, I was a little bit wary of, okay, we're going to have some trouble scoring, sure, but we're doing what we need to do defensively. And 2-1, 3-2 boring hockey games is how we're going to have to win. The problem I'm maybe having is, we're in 3-2, 2-1 hockey games. The problem is we're coming out on the wrong side of them, and we had so many chances. Like, this is being recorded the day after the Anaheim Ducks game. How many chances did we have in that third period in overtime to take the lead? I mean, Lucas Dostal was standing on his head. It's like, oh my gosh, like, by the time you get to shoot out, you're like, crap, like, it's stuff like that. It's like, the margin for error is already very thin. You don't do yourselves any favors by, for example, not hitting the net. We had 16 missed shots throughout the first half of the game.
Oh man. I'm just, as you're saying that, I'm kind of going through a lot of the opportunities, and that, honestly, to be truthful, I was actually started writing, and I was writing your game recap. I was like, oh, they're getting a power play in overtime, and the way that they've been dominating opportunities for the last 15 minutes of real time. Well, the Panthers came back and got a big overtime win tonight. Like, but as you said, Dostal was unreal. And just thinking back, like, they've gotten goalied several times this season. Like, the first 2 games of the year, like Knight and Vladar right off the bat, both of them were really good. So, I feel silly, like, just going down the list of valid excuses that you can come up with for why the Panthers are where they are right now and why you can be positive about the future. But it's still just like, even with all that, it's like, hard to accept, but just after the last few years, the one thing that I fall back on is always, at least when I say is always the last 2 years, it's just been the steady calming influence of Paul Maurice and understanding what buttons to push and when to get on his guys. And in this case right now, when not to get on his guys. The game against Dallas that's coming up, I'm really anxious to see, just because of how the Anaheim game was kind of a combination of the Vegas game and the one before that, which, what was it? Not
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh. Thank you.
Pittsburgh. Yep.
And Sidney Crosby. Sitting next to my co-host Roy Bellamy at that time, who absolutely hates Sidney Crosby, was a fun experience.
I have that love-hate with Crosby from back in the day as the Panther OG fan, but then the stuff he's doing for Team Canada, I got be honest.
Be quiet.
No, I get it. I look, personally, I got nothing against the guy. I think he's been a really good ambassador for the game.
I think he's been hurt. Like, I get where Roy might be coming from, the old Crosby days. The Brett McLean incident, you remember that, David, where he jumps him off the draw.
I think it was. What was the Panthers player that he went after at the Igloo when the Panthers? I was at that game. They won 5 or 6. Was that who? Okay. Yeah, I just remember the face-off was right where we were sitting, and it was.
I'm like, why?
Thinking back, but yeah, and
the Penguins were losing at the time, right? So
yeah, they were down big in that game.
That's Crosby did a lot of those things back. He actually did more stuff to us, David, than Brad Marchand did. If you go back and look.
Oh man, and talking about Brad Marchand, a guy who I'm speaking for myself, and I'm sure a lot of hockey fans could not stand for the first half of his career, if not more, just because he was so good at being so much of an agitator and licking guys and poking guys and every little thing that you could hate about a guy. But oh my God, between the player he's become over the last few years, the mature, should I say, player he's become the last few years, what he's done for the Panthers, and then just being able to, on a small note, but getting to know him a little bit around the team. Holy cow, talk about a 180. And don't even make me mention the fact that for whatever reason, he found my kid at the parade last year and took a selfie with him, not knowing that it was my kid or anything. He's just a random kid, just so happened to have been my kid. But now I've got this 9-year-old who loves Brad Marchand. He's got a selfie with him. So yeah, Marchand's awesome. But yeah, getting back to Crosby or my original point in what I'm hoping to see this weekend, and I'm amazed that I found my way back here. They were so good the second half of that Pittsburgh game, and the Anaheim game just felt like they were so much better than what we were seeing in terms of the score and the way that the flow of the game was being dictated. Every time they got something going, something would happen. So they've got to be pretty pissed off right now, I would think. With these two games, you had that amazing Vegas game kind of sandwiched between them where you took one of the best offensive teams, one of the best shot-taking teams in the league, and made them really upset and frustrated. And that was apparent in the way that game ended, obviously. But I've got to think that this is a Panthers team that is full of pride. They have an understanding of what they're capable of. And the last week that they've had, now you've got this amazing test. You've got the Dallas Stars. Dallas is a great team. We know that. So I'm excited to see what they come up with, because the one kind of recurring theme that we've seen this week, and maybe not so much in the Vegas game because both teams, but they have yet to have a really strong start. And you really would like to see that against Dallas. Because even with the Ducks game where they really got it going, but it's coming from the fan perspective in me. That's what I'm looking forward to seeing. Is I just want to see the Panthers get back to being the Panthers. And even though they're not necessarily with the roster that they want to have, it's still more than a capable squad of doing that. And I think this Dallas game is going to be a good test.
Yeah. My last thing for David, Nick, I don't know if you have anything for him. Coming into the season, and we've seen, just a 10, 11 game sample size here, David. What's been the most surprising thing to you within the Atlantic division, and maybe the least surprising?
Within the division, I don't want to say that Montreal has been surprising just because how good they've been. But I'm having a lot of fun watching Montreal, and it's nice to see that they've kind of.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! And Kirby won't shut up about them, David. When I tell you, he's acting like he's a Canadian fan.
I don't know what got into me, but this summer I'm just
I can't. They're
likable. They're very likable. Martin St-Louis is a very likable guy. Cole Caulfield's fun. Nick Suzuki is he's a great guy to be around.
I don't think you're going to be as likable in about a year or two when they're kicking the brakes off of us again. But
I like seeing a good market, good fans get good hockey. And so that I'm cool with that, right? Because like the Panthers are growing, the fan base, and it's growing into a great hockey market here. But when you've got like a good market of starved fans and they haven't had success in a while, like that little, it was so unfair. I almost felt for Montreal fans because they went to the Cup final recently and it was in the middle of COVID and they couldn't really enjoy it like they should have been. Like the fact that they even let a few thousand people in the arena, I think for the end was like a big deal. And it's the final. So Montreal has been fun for me. Obviously, Detroit also. That we've been waiting for that to happen. What's that?
I hated Detroit coming into the year. I took a big L on them so far.
Well, I was questioning just putting so much faith into two very veteran goaltenders, but God bless them. Cam Talbot and John Gibson have been pretty good on a team that's done. Detroit's done a good job of mixing the veterans and the young guys. The division has been fun. I'm at Boston being at the bottom, Tampa struggling. Those are a little surprising. Like
Boston started 3-0, David.
Yeah, no, that's what I was expecting Boston to have a better than expected year just because they still have a lot of talented players. They've got solid coaching. Jeremy Swayman, I think, is much better than he got credit for last season in a tough situation. So I just thought Boston would be maybe not a divisional playoff team, but at least in the wild card mix. And Tampa as well. Like if not, they probably should be a divisional playoff team, even with the ascension of Montreal and Ottawa and all these teams kind of fighting to make it a thing. Tampa's still got so much talent on that squad and Vasilevsky. So that's kind of surprising to me in the division. And then you got the Panthers who were just kind of meandering in the middle of it all, just kind of like looking down, hey, Boston, hey, Tampa, looking up like, yeah, I'll see you guys soon, the Canadian team. So like, I think it's maybe the most fun division in hockey, if nothing else. I might be a little biased, but I don't know. I just feel like the Atlantic's had a little bit of everything so far this year.
Yeah, and Nick, that's why I haven't like overly panicked with just looking at the Florida perspective because of what's going on in the Atlantic. And I've been watching it almost every other night. I've watched Montreal a ton this year. Toronto, you didn't speak on. They've had some struggles here without Mitch Marner, and I'm not the biggest Mitch Marner guys. You guys all know, but when you take him out of that lineup for a regular season, it's going to change the makeup and mold of your team. So, and Toronto's going through some injuries as well on their back end. So they're having trouble right now.
And in goal, Joseph Woll is not.
Yeah, not there.
And Anthony Stolarz has struggled to start the year. I've actually been watching more of the West a little bit this year. St. Louis, Utah is really fun to watch. I mean, they got themselves a squad.
The Tusky effect, right? Have they lost since they introduced their mascot?
No, I mean, they are incredible.
The Dobosh thing?
No, they just lost, right?
Yeah, and the Tusky thing, those right? It's been undefeated. I think.
But those have been talk about a surprise in the East,
where they lost.
Surprise in the West. I think Kirby, Nick Kyprios even said it. Predict the St. Louis Blues to be President's Trophy winners or Stanley Cup. I couldn't.
Yeah, they were my dark horse.
So they were your dark horse President's Trophy. They were Nick Kyprios' Stanley Cup pick. They're last in their division. So that's
the Central's been just as like headliney as like the Atlantic Division has, with all the teams from top to bottom. Minnesota struggling within there as well. Yeah. I think those have been the two divisions.
And I think Ottawa's kind of been a little weird this year too. It's kind of like they're
not getting the goaltending.
They're not getting what they need. I mean, they're kind of meandering around where we and Tampa and Toronto are. So I would say
Seattle
it's fun
too.
To see.
Seattle's surprisingly good too.
Yeah.
Freaking, but I would say it's a lot of fun to watch if it wasn't my division. So I'm not going to say it's fun to watch. So, but anyway, I don't have anything else. Kirby, do you?
Yeah, no, I appreciate David's time. We're going to have him on a couple more times. We got to have him back on before the Olympics or around there, maybe when we do our rosters and stuff like that. So
we really appreciate you coming on again, David.
David, also the outdoor game as well, so that's going to be.
Yes, actually, I'm hoping to be at both. My co-host Roy Bellamy and I, because they're both in Florida. So if there was ever a time to try to, make it both happen, one of them's right in our backyard, the other one's up in Tampa. So hopefully we can make it to both. And I think I was going to say between us, but this is a podcast, but whatever. Like, I really am going to be upset if I can't figure out a way to get on the ice for at least a skate. I've heard that media skates are a thing. So that's kind of like this like internal goal that I'm setting. And Roy too, like if there's a way to make it happen, like just get me out there. I'll sub on the ice.
I'm going to add this right now for David. You guys need to get like a media game going or something. We can have our very own John Acosta and Ned at one end of the rink and then you at the other end, David.
We've talked actually to a couple of guys in the media about trying to get a media game going. The only main pushback that we've gotten, because we have gotten interest, and this is a conversation that's been going back for a while now. The main pushback that we get is it's so hard for guys to travel with their gear. So you know, that might be the only hindrance in getting like an actual media game. But a game of shinny, you know,
couple goalies, right?
I do have to ask. Goalies, right? I do actually have to ask. You might not even be allowed to say anything, but I have to ask partly for me and for a guy, Cody. Do you have any clue when those jerseys are getting dropped? Because I am waiting for those Winter Classic jerseys to freaking
radio silence.
They? Wow.
I have tried to find out, although to be honest, I haven't probably in a couple of weeks. So actually, maybe
there you go.
If any of you people are watching, I'm going to be texting.
There you go.
Yeah, I would think that they shouldn't wait too long, like maybe by Thanksgiving, just because you want to give time for people to spend a ton of money on these things for the holidays. Like that's a big part of it, whether they want to admit to it or not. Like that's why these games take place around New Year's. So new fancy jerseys would be awesome. I'm really hoping that they go back to maybe something similar to like an original Panthers jersey, because they're going to be playing like right down the street from where the team originally played anyway. But yeah, I don't know. I've gotten nothing on that. So I'm hoping that they're keeping it secret because it's something amazingly cool and awesome, but
I can't wait to spend a ton of money on that jersey. I'm just waiting.
Oh God.
Just can't
I just hope it's cool. Like
yeah.
I wouldn't mind a jersey that's just like, you know, get the Leaping Panther, the triangles on the sides, maybe some new elements, maybe make it, I don't know what, they already did the blue jersey.
I've seen a couple of different iterations of like online using AI of like a Miami Vice Panthers type of style. So I wonder if they might go with that, but we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, they kind of did the Miami Vice thing there in the All-Star a couple of years ago, but
yeah, that's right. Yeah, with the 90s throwback element into that.
I mean, could they even go like, and I don't know if I necessarily want to even put this out into the world, but I mean, they could go like a Marlins themed route since it's Marlins Park. Well, yeah, that's why I didn't necessarily want to say it, but I mean,
I like the color schemes of the other South Florida teams. I'll that, but if they can incorporate something with the traditional colors or the look, David, like you said,
that's what I'm hoping.
And it also kind of sucks that Barkov's not going to be able to play in it. I mean, that really kind of pisses me off.
I'm more upset for Barkey about missing the Olympics, man. That's just such a drag. Because all I've heard from every guy that's talked about the Olympics from last season and training camp, like they're so excited for it. It's such a big deal. And obviously it sucks for Barkov, but it sucks for Finland too, because like their chances just
sleeping on them, David. But when you go overseas, a couple things break your way.
And they've had tough luck with Heiskanen last year in Four Nations. Now Barkov this year in the Olympics. They've really kind of gotten screwed over here the last 2 years.
But I do feel for Barkov there, especially when it's international and you have those opportunities. The Europeans, how they look at those events, even the World Championships and things like that. But David, I want to thank you for your time today. Where can everyone follow you? What do you have up the road here? I know the team's going out west here.
Yeah, thank you again for having me on, fellas. Good chat. Excuse me. You can find all my written work on thehockeynews.com /Florida Panthers. I'm on X, Twitter, at David Dwork, Instagram. Every week I do the hockey show with Roy Bellamy on the Dan Le Batard Show Network. You can catch it on YouTube or wherever you download your podcasts.
Great work on the reels there. I get a kick of those.
That's all Rose, our producer Rose. Like she is so talented and she has such a good eye for like making Roy and I look funnier and better than we are. So thank you, Rose. Like she's the best.
Yeah. No, you guys know Puck. So appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, David.
To have you on here again down the road here.
Yeah, fellas, we'll do it again. Take care, and when we come back, obviously they'll be much higher above 500.
Hopefully. Yeah. We appreciate it, David. And as we say goodbye to David, we're going to hear a word from our sponsor, Caneswear.
Panthers fever is here. Are you geared up? Caneswear in Davie is the place for all your Florida Panthers needs. They have the latest gear for our favorite NHL team. Jerseys, polos, t-shirts, hoodies, hats, and more. Caneswear has you covered. Stop by their store in Davie or at pantherswear.com. Again, that's pantherswear, WEAR.com for all your Panthers gear.
And another shout out to our boy Jeremy Beckham at Beck Sells FLA. Hey, Panther fans in South Florida and need real estate help? Check out Jeremy Beckham with Next Home Treasure Coast. It's a boutique service with a personal touch. Jeremy and his team put humans over houses, working hard for you, whether you're buying or selling. Ready to move? Hit up BeckSellsFLA.com. Again, that's BeckSellsFLA.com, or call 772-475-5371. Now you'll be glad you did. And make sure to reach out to Jeremy. We have contests going on during the year on our Twitter X platform side, our weekly contest over there. So make sure you hit up Jeremy over there. He's also on Instagram as well. So make sure to drop him a message. And he's got other additional contests going on too. If you refer someone that's buying, selling, even renting, make sure to hit up Jeremy. Doesn't have to be in the area. Doesn't have to be in the state of Florida. So if you are outside the state of Florida and a follower of the Cats and Rats, make sure to hit up Jeremy. Nick?
Yeah, I mean, we're also going to be doing plenty of other giveaways here, but Kirby wanted to talk a little bit more about, before we just do some housekeeping things, a little bit about, because we didn't get to touch on it as much, the trade target specifically, on what we've been hearing. Some people may not have heard of, know very much about the names you've said, actually, and we even have some questions here, which I'm going to pull up.
You want to go to the Cats and Rats Community Q A, you're saying?
Yeah, we'll go to the Cats and Rats Community Q&A here. And
ready to go with this.
Let's go. But before we do, to recap some of the names we have heard are Mario Ferraro from the San Jose Sharks. Timothy Liljegren's name has also been mentioned out there by the San Jose Sharks. And Kirby, you wanted to say something, obviously, about one of the comments here. I'll give it to you after. Jamie Alexiak from the Seattle Kraken. Carson Soucy from the New York Rangers, and Kirby, you also mentioned you've heard Matt Grzelcyk.
Yeah, I don't know if he's linked completely to the Panthers, but one of my sources said that's a name that could be out there on the market. But right now, the way that Chicago's playing, I don't know if they make that move. It's just similar to Pittsburgh there with the Malkin names and things like that, the way that they're playing right now. So I don't know if Chicago makes a move. Chicago's already made a move this week up front, moving Reichel out to the Vancouver Canucks. So you are seeing movement out there, Nick. But yeah, go to the questions here if you want to read them off.
So this is actually our guy, Nick Fairbanks, Banksy. He said, first of all, the question is, who is your realistic trade target for the Florida Panthers? One of the guys we mentioned here, Jamie Alexiak, left-handed shot, replaces Balinskis, big body, and can score an expiring contract. And Barclay Goodrow, I believe, also in San Jose. Versatile, plays both left wing and center. He's feisty. He can mix in well with the group. Obviously,
but that's an interesting one there.
We know Barclay Goodrow from the Eastern Conference Finals a couple years ago, where he terrorized us. So, let's not. If he's going to do it for us, fine. But quick point on Alexiak, Kirby, a guy for Seattle who I really like. I think he's about 6'6", 6'6". I'm not going to say the height 1 inch higher. People are going to make a bunch of jokes. You could guess what that is, but
big guy.
He's a big guy. He moves really well for a guy his
played
size.
With Brandon Montour, some other guys in Seattle.
And he's been to a Stanley Cup final with Dallas, and I just think this is a really good fit. I think
Stanley Cup final with who?
Dallas.
When's Dallas?
Against Tampa Bay.
Oh, okay, the bubble. I forget that. Okay, thank you.
Against Tampa Bay, and
I keep thinking like we talked about them not getting there. Okay.
Yeah, right. But I mean, unbelievably,
as David Dwork mentioned Montreal earlier. Yeah,
but you take a look, and I really think, in my opinion, Alexiak is my top target. Obviously.
He's your top target.
He would be the guy of the names we've heard would be number one. Ferraro would be number 2.
Ferraro's number 1 for me. I love his shot blocking. He's an elite penalty killer. I think he does the things that Paul Maurice asks him to do. He's going to be able to exit the puck out of the zone with good enough skating, good enough decision making. And I think you could put him on a bottom pairing and he'll be happy there. It's got to be a fit, Nick, on these guys. Some of these guys are used to playing top 4 or more elevated roles. Rasmus Anderson, I don't think, is a realistic name out there for the Panthers, but a name which we're going to get to here. But a guy like Ferraro, he's my number 1, Nick.
Yeah, and actually, Jeremy Beckham, the guy we just mentioned, our sponsor, says that David Pagnotta is reporting that Sharks are believed to be willing to take trade calls on blue liners Ferraro and Timothy Liljegren.
Now, again, my sources don't come from David Pagnotta. I was going to say this to David Dwork. I don't have an in with Pagnotta. I don't know if Dwork does or other Florida media members do. So the names that I heard aren't based off of David Pagnotta. Nick, I don't know if some of the people that you talk with kind of have that.
They're not.
Okay, I try to stay away from that because I don't have a direct intel to those.
Yeah, no, but those are names that are out there clearly, but obviously Panthers have a need of defense. It would make sense there. And then as we go further down, our guy D'Lo says Ferrero's a
D'Lo, member, by the way, which we'll mention here later.
He makes as a solid target for a third pair defenseman. He makes the most sense if they're calling San Jose. I don't much care for Liljegren, who's probably available as well. What do you think? Also, please no Mahura. You damn right, D'Lo. Alexiak is over $4 million, but brings some beef to the deep court. Petry can go. So we already talked about Jeff Petry earlier. He's not going anywhere. He came into the season as the 6th. Balinskis will return to be the 7th defenseman if and when we do make this move, for whoever it may be. But I agree with D'Lo, and I like Liljegren as a player. I think it would have been a better fit if Dmitry Kulikov was the guy who was still in if we were looking to upgrade from Jeff Petry, but I don't think. Go ahead, Kirby.
Correct me if I'm not wrong here, Nick. Just want to jump in quick. Thank you. A lot of these names that are available or that we're talking about, they're left-handed defensemen, right?
Correct. So Jeff Petry, one of the weirdest things about this year from compared to the last couple of years is we have all 3 right shot defensemen. So
right. And I don't know if they want to play around with that.
So I mean, obviously Kulikov being out for the next 5 months, you'll deal with the array of depth you have at that time. But
and Kulikov can play both sides when he comes back.
Liljegren is a right shot defenseman, so that is the only caveat there. Whereas Ferraro and Alexiak as being left shot defenseman,
and
number one.
Carson Soucy is what?
Carson Soucy, I believe, is left shot, but don't hold me
as well.
I think he's left shot defenseman.
And again, we talk about this often, Nick, within our community. Left-handed shot defenseman, right-handed shot defenseman. Right-handed shot defenseman come out a bit more of a premium.
Yeah, correct. So I think this is kind of those are some solid names that we're looking at potentially.
Now, people are saying, Kirby, what do you give up for Ferraro? I'm going to throw it out there, Nick. Benny. You put Benny out because I don't know what Benny's placement is with the organization.
There's no reason for I almost said Sam Bennett, Mike Benning, to be on like we need to hold him, right? I mean, you take a look, the top 4 is locked in for the next 5, 6, 7, 8 years, right? So
when they signed Mikkola, I know he plays the different side than Benny does, but then bringing Jones in as well.
Who's here for the next 4.
Writing on the wall there for a guy in Benny who is a boomer bust type of defenseman.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be more predicated on a skill-based power play top 4 role. I think if he's asked to be a bottom pair guy, I think those guys come and go.
And if I'm not mistaken here, his cousin or brother, I don't know the relation to
plays for San Jose.
Matt Benning, he played in San Jose in that order.
Yeah, and you know what I think for Mike Benning, based off the trajectory he's going, I think it's more of a Matt Grzelcyk than a Lane Hudson per se. I mean, if you
I think Lane Hudson is the absolute peak, but I don't even know if Benning is the number 3 defenseman for us at this point. Which
I think he's way closer. I think he might end up being a little worse than Matt Grzelcyk. Lane Hudson, probably not the best comparison because
I was thinking of like a number 3 puck moving guy.
No, I don't think he's that.
Talk Jersey level. I don't think
he's even that. I don't think he's not even in the same stratosphere as Lane Hudson. I don't think it's any really close between him and Jersey. I think Grzelcyk is the best comparison, and I think he might not even get to that.
But if that's the comparison, then you got to bring in a guy like a Ferraro.
But even if he does, we shouldn't be waiting for a Matt Grzelcyk in 3 years, right? Like you could go get that in free agency. So, I think if that's what you need to get it done, then go ahead. I'm not going to sit here and hold Matt Benning.
I think the names now of Devine, and you look at what Mackie Samoskevich has done.
That's different.
That's higher.
That's different. Those are a little bit different. But our guy Jamie, and by the way, D'Lo, agree with you on Mahura. Although, by the way, he's actually pling more minutes this year. Seems like he's kind of taken a little bit of a step. So
he worked on that cardio, as Ocho Cinco says.
Yeah, there we go. Well, I don't want to quote him, but
well, that was the problem with Mahura. It's that cardio there.
Our guy Jamie, my choices are Boone Jenner, to help.
Hold on, that's Ryan's guy.
Well, we're going to get to Ryan here in a sec. 3 options on defense. Bring back Gudis. If we need lefty, Ian Cole can replace Kulikov. And I like Trevor Van Riemsdyk as an option. He's Steve.
I want to jump in there on Jamie. I don't think Utah's interested in moving Ian Cole right now at all. He's had a great start to the year. Utah's been good. Explain the Ratko Gudis one to me, Nick, because I fail to understand it and comprehend it. He's a captain of the Anaheim Ducks.
He's the captain of the Anaheim Ducks who have playoff aspirations this year, and he's a right shot defenseman when we're in need of a left shot. I don't think that's going to occur.
Yeah. You're going to have to pay a bit there, too. He's got $4 million.
Now, I will just point out, obviously, we don't know anything. David Dwork did say someone familiar. I don't know if you caught that, Kirby.
I did.
So I was thinking about that a little bit.
You were thinking about Mark Stahl?
Oh, no, I was not.
Like Joe Flacco.
No. Or like Brandon Graham in Philadelphia. But
he said familiar, right? Is he talking about Money Monter?
I don't think that. Is he talking about Josh Mahura? Is the question.
that's not part realistic.
Is that the question?
But, David, he's always leaving those riddles out there. Remember last year, kind of alluding to Seth Jones there with those.
So we're gonna have to think about that one. But
Nick's gonna be sending a DM.
Oh my gosh! But and then finally, also Trevor Van Riemsdyk. We're not going for a right shot. I don't think.
Is he right?
He's a right shot, Jamie says here. And I don't think Washington, I believe who he plays for, would be really wanting to move him. I mean, I don't see reason. And then Brian, for some reason, putting in Dustin Tokarski. I have no clue.
We need another goalie. What a goal Ryan is. That's his boy from Team Canada. World Junior Days, everyone. Not the World Championships, not the Olympics, not the World Cup, not Four Nations, the World Juniors from way back in the day.
Yeah, well, I have no, no to Dustin Tokarski. And Boone Jenner, who knows?
And Ryan would give Boone Jenner a letter as soon as he arrived in South Florida. He put a letter on that chest. He'd be like, let me put it on there for you.
So, I'm not sure.
And I don't know if we're looking at the forwards right now. I think that's a name that's going to pop up, though, Boone Jenner.
Yeah. I'm sure it will, depending on how Columbus does this year. But kind of given our thoughts and all that, I think
is that all of the comments there? Yeah.
That is all of the comments there.
Sorry, I got it out late again, everyone. Make sure to check your DMs, check your messages.
So when you take a look at, guys like Jamie Alexiak and Mario Ferraro, Kirby, I think those are the best fits. You like Ferraro, I like Alexiak. I like Ferraro as well. That's a name that was mentioned last year in the trade market.
I think Ferraro's a safer floor guy, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
and Alexiak does, but when his game falls,
I'll tell you this. I think he's been connected to Tampa too. So, I don't know. That's probably the easiest move to make right now because Seattle is playing very well, as David has pointed out, and I'm not sure if they're willing to let him go. I know Alexiak was a name that was mentioned last year on rumblings around. But I do think that Mario Ferraro would probably be the easiest and most affordable option. Because if you're going to have to give up Benning for Ferraro, what are you going to have to give up for Alexiak? I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of teams, if you wait to the deadline, that are going to want a guy like Jamie Alexiak.
I think Ferraro and Alexiak are in the same price range.
So, I mean, it really kind of depends on how much do you need immediate help. I think they're going to go with Sabrango, however you pronounce it.
But if you go with Alexiak or Ferraro, I think they're also in your potentially mid to long-term plans as well.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be a one-year deal. Now, again, I think if you want to keep them after this year, I think Alexiak.
Yeah, you wait and see how they play for you.
Yeah, but I think Alexiak would actually be a better fit for that because Ferraro is a 28-year-old left shot guy going to come in, play a bit of a decent role.
But I think that fits what we need.
Correct, but beyond this year, I think that he could get some money where Alexiak's a bit older. He's coming off a big deal. And I don't necessarily
wonder how much Alexiak wants on the open market. And Ferraro and Kulikov would be an ideal bottom pairing for me, where you could almost call them a shutdown.
Well, I would call Alexiak and Kulikov a shutdown pairing.
Alexiak's playing well, and it fits.
Yeah, I mean, Kirby, I'm not concerned about how Jamie Alexiak will play on this team. I think it's a fit. I know that's a guy. I think Kirby.
But you're not worried about his price range, his price tag.
That's a little over $4 million. I mean, we're not. Barkov ain't coming back in the regular season, right?
I think you can get Ferraro under 3. What's he making right now?
3.25.
He's making 3.25 in Florida. I think you can get him under 3 or right around
for
that.
a re-sign.
Yeah, re-sign at the age of that. Now, if he's looking for big dollars,
because I think
the number.
I think he could get a 4x4. I mean, legitimately, like from another.
Well,
team.
if you're looking at both of those guys, and
if you take a look at what Ryan Lindgren got, who's now in Seattle, so that opens up room for Jamie Oleksiak.
I think Lindgren, right or wrong or indifferent, is a bit bigger brand name than Mario Ferraro.
Correct, but after Mario Ferraro plays for a team like Florida, who could potentially have playoff success,
but that's the thing. Price. But then it doesn't always go up to that. It can, but you're gonna have to go on a deep run.
And I don't think
when Lindgren played in New York, that just inflates your value.
And as far as I know, I don't think Jamie Oleksiak played for any of our coaching staff beforehand. I don't think we have any connection to them at all. No, I don't believe so. I'm not off the top of my head.
Is he a Manitoba boy?
He might be. I'm not sure. You would know that, but let me take a look.
Somewhere.
But Kirby, you have the your ideal guy is Ferraro. I like Ferraro. I just really like the idea of Oleksiak. He's a big guy, but he can move really well. And I think.
If he fits, he's good. But if he's not, he's a bit of a disaster class or potential.
Well, it could, and I think that's where you're going to have to make that determination. Where I think Ferraro is a bit of the safer pick.
And Ferraro is a shot suppression guy, and he's a shot blocker.
Correct.
Which I think works well within the system. Oleksiak, I like the size and range, but you already have that on your middle pairing.
Yeah, and I think that's where it's going to come in. And even Jeff Petry is a bigger guy, right? He's 6'4", I think. So maybe.
But I think if you're talking Petry, I think a guy like Ferraro is a better partner for him than Oleksiak.
Then I think you might be convincing me on Ferraro here. Because
Oleksiak likes to jump up in the play like Petry does, and
I think
you can get a little caught.
I think there's a bit of trust there with like Petry and Kulikov. Like you trust a guy like Dmitry Kulikov stay back, kind of like settle things down a bit. He's a veteran; he knows the system.
Comes back and cleans up plays.
And like Petry, I mean Kulikov is a veteran like Petry. Like I'm sure they've crossed paths. I think they played together in Pittsburgh, actually, if I'm not mistaken.
But hey, an Oleksiak-Kulikov pairing might work. You've seen Kulikov play with bigger guys and Mikkola and stuff like that. So.
Right. So, I mean, Anton is offside, obviously. But the one thing is
Kulikov back on his offside there.
Yeah, which actually was one of the things that, believe it or not, he wasn't playing on his offside this year for the first time. And
now, if you bring a guy in, that's what's going to change that because that's what's on his way out. And
it kind of some of it gets screwed, but again, Ferraro and Oleksiak, no matter who we get, even a guy like Susi, who I'm not as high on, and I doubt that's going to happen, but who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. Our guy Jim said that might not be a fit there. Just out of town scoreboard update here. Toronto's getting the doors blown off of them right now. Again.
So I'm trying to think here.
Yeah, and we're going to wrap here with a couple community notes here.
So for me, actually, Kirby, I think you might have convinced me on Mario Ferraro.
Oh, on air, really? Oh.
Yeah.
I've had him on my wish list for a while. I know you get on me about the Adam Boquist and other names that I've had there. And again, cost relative. Where a guy like Ferraro, I would pay him upwards of 3+. I would like to potentially retain a guy like that if he's a fit.
And he's a bit younger. He's a bit younger. He is still a veteran. He has plenty of experience under his belt. I think kind of similar to.
Yeah, sorry, jump in. If you move Benny for him, I want it to be a fit. And you better be sure. But if you're moving up for a second and a fourth or a second and a third, I don't know. You kind of take that gamble if that's where you want to move.
Or 2/3 or something like that. And
you got something, one or two of those picks out that you got for Justin Sordoff, surprisingly.
Right. So, I mean, that's what the interesting part comes into. And obviously, Matthew Tkachuk's coming back later. We are mentioning defensemen now. You'd have to assume later on in the year the market for centers will continue to ramp up. And Kevin Weeks had some interesting comments on ESPN during what's it called? The Frozen Frenzy. Is that what they call the NHL, like kind of type of red zone thing? And he says there's no better fit for Nazem Kadri than the Florida Panthers. So you'll start to hear that ramp up, not Nazem Kadri to Florida specifically, but the center market in general.
Yeah, we'll get into that more in our live streams and our after dark coverage because they're going to wait for Nazem Kadri to hit that 1,000-game milestone, and then it might ramp up from there. So we'll get into that more on our Cats and Rats coverage. But as you guys know, in our live chat, you guys have been joining us on the live streams. We've got another live stream coming up against the LA Kings. We're going to be live on our YouTube channel side after the West Coast games. So if you're not on the X platform, but you're more on the YouTube channel side, join us on YouTube for those post-game coverages, because you guys take us a lot of different ways in the chat. And hey, some of you weren't pulling punches last Saturday, and we weren't either. So we were holding true to what we believe. So for some of you, and
for all of our loyal subscribers here, if you want to have a chance to win this Anton Lundell JSA Certified photo, click on the latest Cats and Rats NHL After Dark episode that is linked in this tweet by our very own Kirby Lupo. I'm sure it will be in the description as well.
Yeah, and don't have to click on, just to jump in, sorry, Nick, there. They don't have to click on that episode, but they can there, but go ahead.
And then follow the contest rules and DM Kirby. So please make sure you follow the rules.
Yeah, so the rules, again, are for our audio audience, Nick. Give 5 thumbs up on any of our videos. So it doesn't have to be the After Darks. It doesn't have to be the podcast. Just go over there. Click on the podcast tab or the live tab. Just hit 5 thumbs up. And then you're going to DM to me at KJ_Loops, LUPS on X, or at CatsNRatsPodcast. Make sure to put those underscores in there on the Instagram side. Send me a direct message, a DM, with 5 thumbs up and Lundell's name next to it. Then you'll be entered into the contest. We'll draw it in the next week or two. Again, it's the Anton Lundell JSA Certified signed Stanley Cup photo contest. So make sure to enter that, and good luck.
And for all of our YouTube listeners, and even audio listeners on Spotify, if you want to join our YouTube membership to get access to special membership perks, make sure to do that. Kirby, do you have anything else there?
Yeah, they can just join on our YouTube channel page. Everything's linked in really well on YouTube. So our members, I want to give a shout out to D'Lo, RC, and Michael Wallace, who have become our first members. They said the sign-up process was really easy. Just click on the homepage. Look for that join button on the YouTube channel. If you don't see the join button or join now, scroll all the way over to memberships and you'll be able to find it over there. So we appreciate that. We have gold, silver, and bronze memberships. A lot of nice perks for the gold and silver. We appreciate our bronze signups as well. You'll get some nice emojis and different things if you're involved in the chat. But if you want to have additional add-on perks, not just the live perks, make sure you sign up for the gold or silver membership.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty much it. We really appreciate David Dwork for coming on here today. Obviously, we wish Cody Stevens could have joined us. He was unavailable tonight, but he will be here for After Dark at the time of this recording when this is being released. Make sure to tune in to us every Saturday for After Dark. We have Big C's. We have Jim Behringer come on, me, Kirby, Cody. It's a pretty cool time. Talk around the league, not just Florida Panthers. So we really appreciate everything. Make sure you're like and subscribe to our channel, like this video, and make sure to hit that notification bell and leave your thoughts. Who do you think the Panthers should get on the trade market? Do you agree with Mario Ferraro, Jamie Alexiak, or somebody who you have your own thoughts about? That's all I have to say. Kirby, is there anything else you'd like to say, man?
Nope, that's everything. Nick, take over.
Well, as we always say, I don't usually get to do this. Cody does. We really do appreciate everybody for all your support. And as we always say here, let's go Cats.
What's up, Cats and Rats fans? If you enjoyed that video, be sure to hit the like and subscribe button before you head out. If you're listening to us on Apple and Spotify, make sure you leave us a 5-star review. And just like always, let's go Cats.